Hey, it is Mama Radha. Again, I'm so sorry. I've been up since 5 a.m. and I've just been going, and I'm a hot mess. But I just absolutely loved Mr. Vibin' with Run's response to my video on the domestic discipline. It was so great. Literally, he was telling the truth like 100%. And it made me think about, just kind of going into detail a little bit about why do women love domestic discipline? Why do they want spankings, And he mentioned the fact that, for women, pain is pleasure, is almost interchangeable sometimes. Now, not severe punishments when you're really getting the belt, like you're really getting it, for being in trouble. Somebody mentioned something about that, like it would reinforce bad behavior. But women that actually have the domestic discipline relationship with their husband don't really want, it's a weird thing, it's a contradiction, but it's just how our brain works. We want to be held accountable. We want him to kind of, a little show of force, like, look, I will do this because I love you, okay? And give us a spanking, whatever. And if the punishment should fit the crime, you know what I mean? So if we've done something really dangerous, disobedient, disrespectful, we do want to be held accountable. And we know that's not going to be fun. That's not going to be playtime. It's not going to be, just a little bit of stinging. You're going to be in trouble, So, and then again, I've covered before, there's other forms of discipline, spend too much, taking cards away, writing reports, all different kinds of things, not being able to go somewhere that you wanted to go to, just different things, when you have submitted your life to a man. And he is, as the Godfather would say, paying the cost to be the boss. And my husband has taken care of me my entire life, Again, been together since we were 14. We're 48 now. It's crazy, raised 4 amazing kids. And it's just fantastic. And I think that we have been living this lifestyle now for probably like 15 years. But it took quite a few years into our marriage. So we've been together about 24, 15. I'm terrible with math. I don't know. But it took a good decade into our marriage for me to have the guts to ask him. And I couldn't even ask him out loud because I was so embarrassed. And I thought, oh, what if he laughs at me? What if he thinks I'm silly? Oh, see my makeup. So sorry. I'm such a mess. And Mr. Vibin' with Run was right. Women are embarrassed. We don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be laughed at. But I was willing to risk it all because I already, I owe him everything anyway. I belong to him. He is my Lord, my Master, my King. I was already saying all those things. And I felt I am accountable to him. If I do something wrong, who has to pay for it? Ultimately, he's the one paying for it, Anywho, so, I wrote that note and, the reason I brought up, asking for your husband to spank you, like, foreplay, is just to get comfortable with the motion of it, the idea of it. Like, because again, a lot of men have been taught not to hit women at all. They don't understand that women do like it rough. They do like their hair pulled. I get so many memes on my Instagram from women who post this stuff. They're just average everyday women. They want to be choked. They want to be spanked. They want this stuff. They enjoy that feeling of being taken. They do, by someone they love and desire. Yes. Okay. And so funny. I was just thinking of the Great Fantasy thing just the other day, how, sometimes, because obviously after all these years, decades, we've made love all different kind of ways. And sometimes he'll just come take it, and I'll be like, whoo. And that sometimes has been some of the best sex ever together. And I like, whoo, I'm too graphic, but yeah, climaxing. I'm like, wow. And it could be fast and furious, and it's just like, damn. And it's just how we're wired. I don't know. I can't explain it. Ask the creator. But, all I know is that, again, because a lot of men feel uncomfortable and even the women can feel uncomfortable, you just do like a role play, and say, okay, let's role play, daddy, and whatever. But then you do have to let them know, listen, honey, this is something I want you to do. And one of the things I did was I brought all this research to him and said, look, men have been doing this forever, since the beginning of time, and in some cultures it's still going on. And you know, and it's biblical and, you know, all this and that, you know, and again, we're not talking about abusing somebody where I'm fear for my life, you know, but it's just a way for him to have the authority and responsibility, which he does have, but to be able to dish out some consequences. Just like if the children misbehaved, they know they could get the belt, you know, you get in trouble, you know what I mean, when they were younger and whatever. And the oldest one always is very proud to say, well, I took the belt more than anybody because I was the most hard-headed and the other ones learned from me. So nobody really ended up getting into too much trouble after the oldest one set the way and said, oh, okay, we don't want to do that. But anyway, you know, and I have openly talked to the kids about it. I mean, they're all grown now. They're all over the age of 18. You know, but just to explain, like, you know, women need help with their emotions. We get out of control and they can see it. They can see it. All of them acknowledge, you know, that they've seen mama get just out hysterical, you know, and these different things. And daddy, either even just his big voice, his presence, a look. It doesn't always have to be you're getting a spanking, but you know, sometimes it is. That's up to my husband. He does when he feels is appropriate, not when I want him to. So I don't get to dictate when I get what I think that I want, you know, which is another thing that I love. So, yeah, and he doesn't want it to be so predictable that I think I can control a situation. And that's the whole thing, is that he's in control. I'm not in control. Okay. And I used to get frustrated in the beginning because I thought, look, well, you know, this happened, that happened, so this is what you're supposed to do. And he's like, don't tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'll do what I think I need to do, and I'll do what I want to do when I do it, you know, and he's just a man. So, yeah, so I just thought it was great. And it does take a lot of guts to ask your man. I just feel like, you know, listen, no offense to anybody else. You can do whatever you want, freaky stuff in your bedroom. It's just that people are so accepting and tolerant of all these different things. And then someone's going to come at me because I want to be a good wifey and I want to be spanked. If I'm not, get out of here. So, you know, it's like, don't judge me. If anything, I'm doing it right. You know what I mean? So, you know, some of the other things that's really great about domestic discipline, which I brought to his attention, you know, I really did a lot of research, and I didn't even have to, but I felt like I really wanted to kind of verify and justify why I felt so strongly that this was something that was important, that it wasn't just some fetish thing that I wanted, that it's something I felt was right, that a husband should have authority over his wife, his family, you know? Anywho, so things like the release of the stress and the tension, and honestly, I read where men were saying, you know, you give her a good spanking, and if, you know, you should spank her till she cries, okay? She needs that release. If she doesn't cry, that's not really a good thing. But anyway, so again, this is like a maintenance spanking or a punishment or something. And then they would say that there's a connection between the pain on the ass and the things that end up coming out of their mouth. Like, said you might get a lot of cussing at first, but you know, eventually they're going to be like, okay, yes, you know what, I'm sorry, you know, and they give. And, you know, it's hard for someone that just doesn't understand to understand. But if you research it, there's a lot of information out there. And yes, the spanking also increases the blood flow in the whole area. So it's like, it does. I mean, even if it was a punishment and it hurt and cry, whatever, I still want sex. I still want, you know, afterwards. It's like, it's just a whole thing. It's pretty amazing. But just the role playing in itself is an exercise in resetting the dominant person and the submissive person, putting people back in their place where they're supposed to be. And it allows a husband to get out the anger and frustration. You're not supposed to do it when you're angry. You're supposed to be controlled about it. However, you get those emotions out. And the woman gets out what she needs to get out, okay? And a lot of discussion can happen during that time. Like, you know, things you may not have wanted to say, you know, you are encouraged to say. It just happens. You know, he'll be talking to me and I'll think, okay, I'm not going to say. And then I'm telling him everything. And instead of having like days go by where you're giving each other the silent treatment and you are angry at each other, everything's resolved. Like it's good. And you end up coming back together closer and happy. And it's like, you can just go on with your day, you know? And again, not every single time is it ending with the spanking, but having that as part of the possibilities does help keep a chick in check. It really does. Again, for our household personally, my husband doesn't like the idea of, you know, smacking somebody in the face. He feels it's disrespectful. That's our house. You know, I know that the late great Sean Connery had mentioned several times, you know, I never took it back, that women can get into such a state of hysteria that sometimes they need a little smack. You know, again, we're not talking about abusing somebody. It's just, pop, you know, get it together, woman, you know, because I don't know if you've ever dealt with women, but they can absolutely drive you to the point of insanity. And if you wonder why there are so many violent, out of control women out there today, it's because there's nobody that's got them under control. Nobody that's put them in their place. No one that has taught them boundaries and taught them how to control their emotions or help them to control their emotions. And this is why we've got the absolute mess that we have going on right now. And I see articles every single day of women that are, you know, taking out their children. And I'm telling you, you all think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you that there's mental illness in women from not being kept in check. We are so emotional, and our hormones go from 40 something, 900 something, back down again, depending on what age you're at, how far your range is going. When you're younger, it could be 200 to 900. It's still an insane spike, and it happens throughout the month, and especially when you're ovulating and then when you get your cycle. So, you know, chicks are going crazy, and the further that they push the boundaries, they go further and further and further, and they just keep going because they're waiting for someone, even if it's got to be the state, you know, Mr. Ossifer, to sit them down and say, you will be put under control. Okay. And I know women that's happened to. They kept pushing and pushing. The men in their lives could not control them, and they ended up getting arrested. It happens. It happens. How many women do you know have DUIs? It happens because they have nobody that they're listening to, nobody that they have, you know, surrendered themselves to, submitted themselves to. So where other people think, oh, you're doing such a bad thing. No, actually, you're doing a very good thing. You're doing what you're supposed to do by helping to keep women in their place, and they'll be happy, more fulfilled, more satisfied, and not hurt themselves or others. Okay. And I'm 48 years old. I've studied this my entire adult life, and I'm telling you that this is the truth. You have your rare exceptions of women who are intelligent, demure, you know, feminine, but, you know, whatever. I mean, they're rare. I don't think I even maybe know one person that might be, but still not super feminine, you know, because when you're in the man's world, you get a lot of those traits. So you might be more logical and more controlled, but now you've lost some of your femininity. So it's just very strange. You know, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I do know that it is something that's very important, and you have to just get the guts to ask your man. And I think a lot of men would like to, and I just find it, you know, a lot of them wouldn't dare, you know, but if it seems like a man's man, okay, and I'm not trying to judge men, but like one of those, just like my husband is the best example that I know. He don't give a rat's behind. He does not give a rat's behind about what anybody thinks. If he feels like he want to say something, he's just going to say it. So, and matter of fact, he reminded me what a lion he is the other day. He was talking about, he was explaining something to a rookie at his job, and you know, the guy was like, what'd you call me? And he's like, he got up and he was like, I called you a rookie. You know, like, you know, and then like, if it was something, you know what I call you. It was just like, and he got all, you know, hulky looking, and he gets his pupils get all tiny, and whew, that's a scary look. But again, I've never been afraid for my life, never been afraid to, be hurt. Have I been afraid to get a spanking? Sure. But am I going to be okay? Yes. You know what I mean? And it's what I wanted. And what I know is that studying this whole thing, it's been more women that I've seen ask for domestic discipline than the man asking them for domestic discipline. So, that they want to implement it. So that should really tell you something, honestly. All the women that I've ever known that are in the genre somewhere, we don't put ourselves in any kind of title or this, that, or, whatever. It's just our life. This is what we do. They're happy. They have an amazing relationship. Not everybody's married, but, whatever. It's something that really brings people closer together. And I really feel, because the yin and yang is in the right place, and a woman is free to be a woman and a man is free to be a man. He doesn't have all these constraints that are put on him by society. And for a woman as well, like, oh, I have to be tough and independent, but I'm really not. And I have to pretend, and I got to stand up for my so-called rights, but I really just want to be like this. And anyway, listen, Vibing with Ron, you did such a great job. I loved it. It was fantastic. And it was all the truth. So, yeah. So whether you write a letter, I love writing letters. I think it's one of the best non-confrontational ways to get your side of what you're trying to say out to a person and give them time to think about it. And I'm just telling you, that night when he read that letter, he'd been watching TV, he reads the letter, he puts it down, and he goes, okay. And he didn't even look at me. He didn't take his eyes off the TV. And I look at him, I'm like, okay. And he goes, yep. Go to the room, take your pants off, and go find a belt. Bend over the bed and wait for me. And I mean, literally, it's the first time we'd ever talked about this. And I was so nervous, and I didn't realize he was sort of messing with me a little bit, but he was going to do what he was going to do, but he was entertained and amused by the whole thing. So he left me in there for the longest time, and I'm just laying in there on my stomach, my ass in the air. I found the weakest belt I could find, and my stomach was just like, I was a mess, and it's hilarious. So he finally comes in there, and he made that belt work. I was like, damn, my goodness. And I had spent I had gone on like $800 shopping spree with like eBay or so. I learned how to use it, and I was like, woo. And yeah, and it was like Christmas time, and I was in big trouble, and I was just like, yeah, this is bad. So yeah, he put it down, and then he made love to me, and it was amazing. It was, I'm just going to be a little graphic because I feel like, try to help you understand. The sensations are unbelievable, and you guys don't understand, but the female's ass is sore, and then you're coming from behind, and just like every time you press against her, it gives her the sensations of pain with the pleasure of sex because you're also inside of her. I'm just saying, you have no idea. It's freaking unbelievable. And I mean, it's just gotten to the point where he could just whisper in my ear and I'm coming. I mean, like, I'm sorry. I just have to tell you because that's how good it is. It's ridiculous. And, but that's just, that's the kind of like, whew, talk about intimacy. It's nothing that can compare to just completely giving yourself to your man. It's the most amazing thing. I have no reservations, nothing I hold back. Everything is his, and I absolutely love it. And in return, he is so crazy about me, and I can't even, I mean, it blows my mind because I'm 48. And I always send him these pictures of these like hot chicks. I'm like, Daddy, do you want? And he's like, stop it. He's like, look, you are beautiful, and I love you, and you're amazing, and blah 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 blah. And he's always constantly trying to make me feel good about myself, and he knows how hard I am on myself. And he's like, look, I just want you to be healthy. That was the main thing about like not drinking, not smoking, and all that, and the gym and everything is just to be fit and healthy and live longer for our kids. So that's all good. And of course, being fit always helps make sex even better. I'm just saying. So, he can still bend me like a pretzel. But, we've been doing this for a long time. But it's amazing. And it just makes everything better. So, do your homework, do your research, bring the research to your husband, show him. how common it is, how much it helps, you know, how it would help you, and you want to be held accountable. And then you just got to check yourself, because you do want to be pleasing to your husband. You don't want to do things on purpose, which I have been guilty of. It's called being bratty. You know, you can't be too bratty, you can't be too naughty. A little bit I understand, because you just want it. But anyway, the girls are back. I gotta go. Love you guys. Ciao.